This is 4 of 5 video clips, but there's actually a 2B as well. Here's where things get unbelievable. I'll go over this briefly, but we'll be dedicating an entire video to these deeds later. There are 5 of these very fake deeds in a row with different dates, but all registered October 4th, 1887. Volume 33, Deed 248, is a fake James Good deed for Lot 14 South. V33 249, V33 250, fake Hugh Black deed for Lot 21. V33 Deed 251, V33 Deed 252, fake deeds for William Good, Walter Good, Hugh Black Jr., and George Richardson's properties. They encompass half a dozen properties directly related to fake deeds that William J. O'Brien and Kennedy F. Burns are supposedly selling to Ivers. He's selling them for dollars a piece. Again, I'm just sticking to mine, or at least as much as I can. This deed, volume 33, 252, page 544, July 4th, 1887, registered, or pretty much created on October 4th, 1887, like the rest of them. Page 1. Here's where William James O'Brien is claiming the riverfront of our lot 15 North. Remember, he has already notarized that his father owns the fishing privileges of Lot 15 North a couple of times before 1887. The description he gives is supposed to be cited from the actual deed, but it's not. The small box is what it actually says in entirety for the description. Not that it matters, because 57 is a fake deed anyway, but he's using it to throw in words like riparian rights. You can pause if you want to read the deeds. Page 2 and 3. He's claiming he owns 15 North Waterfront from a deed he had with his dad, 5th day of July, 1883, which is deed volume 30, 57, which we already proved was fake, but besides that, he went on to notarize his father, John E. O'Brien, as owning the fishing privileges for 15 North on both Robert Good's deed and William Good's deed in October 1885. Then, underlined in blue, he's claiming to own 15 South Waterfront from a deed he had with Kennedy F. Burns, September 13th, 1882, which again we already proved was fake. Volume 29, 185, page 268. He never got it from Rankin, lots 15, 21, and 34, to sell to Kennedy F. Burns. Rankin never owned them. Now take notice of lot 21, underlined in green. He's claiming ownership of the entire waterfront of lot 21 based on a deed he had with Kennedy F. Burns, September 13th, 1882. Yep, it's the same fake deed, B29, 185. Because he never owned lot 15, 21, or 34 to ever sell to Kennedy F. Burns. And the purple underlined for George Richardson, that's based on a different deed that is clearly an easement by George, but that's for another time. I'm including the last page of the deed just to have a complete document for those who want to see the registry info. So fast forward to 1892, June 27th, Robert Good decides to leave the farm and sells his share, the south half of the north half of lot 15, to his brother William George, who owns the north half of the north half. So now William George owns the entire north half of lot 15. Volume 37, 113, page 214. The fishing privilege is still reserved for John E. O'Brien, and it's notarized by John E. O'Brien. Clearly, the Goods still consider a fishing privilege as just that and hold it for John E. O'Brien, as suggested by John E. O'Brien, I imagine, as he notarizes it. And that's why those fake deeds by William J. O'Brien never survived past 1887. The legitimate deeds did. This deed is also registered if you want to look up a copy in the registry. Fast forward even further into the future, 1923, July 20th, 40 years later. Herbert T. Good is deeding back the land his father, William George Good, deeded to him on November 15th, 1921. Being the eldest son, volume 72, 134. In 1923, they are still holding fishing privileges for John E. O'Brien. Tell me this family thinks they bought land with no riverfront, if they still have control of the fishing privileges. Finally, my great-grandfather William George Good's will, leaving everything to my grandfather Orrin in 1944 on September 13th, pictured here on the right upriver with a coffee cup on his head. This is the first document that finally leaves off the fishing privileges for John E. O'Brien, as more than 60 years has passed and surely he had passed on. Another sign that they are never of the opinion that they sold their riverfront or never owned it, just like every other family with these agreements. Again, this is what Service New Brunswick sent me, trying to say we don't own the land. The registrar said my great-grandfather was mistaken when he said on the east by Nipissaquit River, as he didn't own the land to the river and therefore couldn't have left it to my grandfather. He would not let me explain any of what I've shown you all. He said he wanted to see the documents. They all said that, Service New Brunswick Power, etc. But when I would send it to them, they would bury their heads in the sand and wouldn't talk to me anymore. They want to claim plausible deniability. Show me where I'm wrong then. Tell me my deeds are incorrect or inaccurate. I showed you where yours are. Witness Miller on this document was a neighbor. Marjorie Peterson Good was his son Douglas's wife from across the street, and Audrey Brown Good was his son Orrin's wife, my grandmother from Nisco. So this is the supposed proof that these entities have been showing me to try and prove to me that the land isn't ours. I'm expecting somebody to send or tell me something authentic, but these are the flimsy excuses I'm getting. In March 2022, New Brunswick Power sends me the Smurfit Stone contract and says it's deed 252 in that was transferred from Smurfit to New Brunswick Power. She also sent me a copy of deed 252 that we already went over, and I showed you all where it's fraudulent. But that aside, deed 252 is a document, although fake, between William J. O'Brien, Kennedy F. Burns, and Ivers Adams. How do they get from them to Smurfit Stone? Well, no one could tell me that at first. Then they dig up all these convoluted deeds that were created after this deed and made afterwards with the other fake deeds. And then they say, well, that's how it transfers. It's hilarious. I hope I can unpack all of that for you in another video. More fraud to come, by the way, but with modern day names anyway. I told them that those future deeds all depended on the legitimacy of the supposed original deed, and if it was so legitimate, why didn't they just describe that chain from that deed to Smurfit? I mean, even a small private family has to do that much diligence in a simple deed transfer. So why wouldn't a multi-billion-dollar transfer, not exaggerating, $2.8 billion, I believe, why wouldn't they do as much diligence? Even the registrar couldn't explain why they did their transfer of deed that way. April 1st, 2022. Yes, I'm thinking I'm being punked. Service New Brunswick sent me the same supposed proof, and after I send her my documents at her request, she stops communicating with me that very same day. Later in April 2022, the survey and title examiner at Service New Brunswick replies to my request on their website portal. See all the different people and departments before it gets to him. Anyway, yeah, he sends me the same Smurfit to New Brunswick Power document claiming that's how PID 2081-1014 was created and mapped. As a result of, even though it didn't even exist yet, their contract. He even cites the famous 8A on the document and admits that last registered owner was 74306, which is my father. When the surveyor sends me the mapping information saying they don't have him associated with it, it no longer has our PID as the parent. You attach the survey number to the parent, which was ours, and since Service New Brunswick has removed the designation, updated April 5th, 2022, the day I called them or emailed him, the survey number association is lost. Convenient. He also says the process in 2007 involved an extensive review conducted by a title searcher. He says that as if it's fact and seems to know, yet he doesn't know who. But the architect lawyer of this mess told me himself that Williamson's secretary is the one who did the title research. Our family lawyer says it was his wife who did. Anyway, so what is the other notice in 2013? Document 3316-3982. Document 3316-3982 is just another document to attach these newly created PIDs to give a paper trail to these PIDs to make them seem legitimate. I will be explaining this document in a future video. This is New Brunswick Power's document that they typed up word for word from Bad Deed 252 from 1887. On the left is a screenshot of the actual deed from the registry from 1887, and on the right is from the deed document of New Brunswick Power from 2007.